Because in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us that we are the best of nations. Yes, but most of us, we remember, yes, we Muslims were the best of nations. Gura, yeah? We're the best. But they don't read the rest of the ayah. Because it says we're the best of nations because we enjoin what is right and we forbid what is wrong and we believe in Allah. Meaning there's something, and Umar ibn al-Khattab, he said, if you don't fulfill the conditions, then the description doesn't apply to you anymore. You're not the best of all nations, period, end of it, that's it. No, you're the best of all nations because you enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong and you believe in Allah. Meaning if you stop enjoying what is right and you stop forbidding what is wrong, you will not be the best of nations anymore. You will not be. And so this is our characteristic. The characteristic of the Muslim is to enjoy the right and to forbid the wrong. That should be the characteristic of this nation. Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. This is our characteristic. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Qul. Qul means say, O Muhammad. Qul. هذه سبيلي عدوا إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن أتبعني. Say, O Muhammad, هذه سبيلي. So the Prophet is saying, Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ to say to the people, this is my way. هذه سبيلي. This is my way. عدوا إلى الله. I call to Allah. So the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means to call to La ilaha illallah. Ala basira, with knowledge and certainty. Basira means clear understanding. You can't call to something you don't have. If you don't know, how can you call other people to it? You'll be like that man in the old times. We heard the story about him, very enthusiastic. He was walking down the street, he saw a Jew. He grabbed the Jew, took out his sword. He said, "Oh Jew, become Muslim. Or I will chop your head off." So the Jew is shaking. He said, oh, what shall I do? He said, no, I don't know, actually. So he's very enthusiastic, but he's got no knowledge. Yeah? So ala basira, you have to call with insight and understanding. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be a scholar to call, to tell people about Islam, but you do have to know what you're talking about. It's two different things. You have to know what Islam is. You have to understand it. And I don't mean your culture. I mean you have to know what Islam is. If you've never read the Quran in a language that you can understand, how are you going to say you know Islam? Really? How are you going to say you can understand? It's very extraordinary to me that there are people who go to university, they get degrees, become doctors and engineers and whatever, and they've never read the Quran from cover to cover in a language they can understand, and they call themselves Muslim. Ajib jiddan. Very strange matter. Subhanallah. So we need to call to Allah ala basira. And the Prophet said, Ana wa man ataba'ani. Me and those who follow me. Meaning if you follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you also call to Allah ala basira, with insight. This is our way. This is our deen. This is part of the whole essence of what this message of Islam is about. And so this mentality. And the word, is very beautiful in Islam. Dawah. Dawah does not mean converting people. We don't have that in Islam. We can't make anyone Muslim. It's not in our hands. Allah didn't ask you to make anybody Muslim. No, Allah didn't say go and make people Muslim. No. Because you don't have that ability. Allah guides who He wants to guide. But what you do have to do is dawah, which means invite. The Prophet gave the example, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I'm like a man who invited people to a feast. So the ones who accepted, they ate from the feast, and the ones who refused, they didn't. That's it. You're inviting people to something beautiful. But you have to do it in the best way. with the best manners. بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن, with wisdom and a good admonition and with intelligent arguments. Because if, brothers and sisters, you don't have these basic skills, imagine I cook tonight the most fantastic biryani. Yeah? For our iftar. Yeah? Okay? And I bring it to you in a dustbin lid. Yeah? How much are you going to feel like eating it? Yeah? You can have the most beautiful thing, Islam. But if you present it in a dustbin lid, no one is going to want to eat it. However beautiful it is. Except someone who's literally, you could say, starving. So brothers and sisters, this is something very important. This mentality and this understanding that we have a duty to convey the message. That we have something precious, we have something great, we have something noble, and at minimum it's our duty to let people know about that. And I don't just mean through what we say. Actually, more important, brothers and sisters, than what you say is what you do, is how you behave. And this is what is important. Islam teaches us to care about the people around us. The Prophet ﷺ used to care about the people around him, whether they were Muslim or not. He used to care about them. He was trustworthy towards them. He was respected amongst them. In fact, he ﷺ was so much respected and trusted that even while his enemies were planning to kill him ﷺ, he was the only person that they trusted enough to look after their possessions. Subhanallah, can you imagine that? They're plotting to kill him, and at the same time he's the only one they trust enough to look after and mate and trust with their possessions. And even sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he do? He leaves Ali behind, for what reason? So everyone will be given back those things that he was entrusted with. No other reason. Subhanallah. This is Rasulullah, this is his character, brothers and sisters. This is what we're talking about. The character of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And that character, as much as anything, is what drew people to Islam. And whatever things people would say about the Muslims, when they came and they experienced the character of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, people realized that those things were lies. We need to be like that. That's the type of people we need to be. Those are the type of characteristics that we need to have. So that is very, very important. Brothers, can we just... That's very important. So my brothers and sisters, we need to think about and we need to study also the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to see how he was, to see how he behaved, because that is an example for us. And this is the mentality we have to cultivate. Now, there is another reason why I believe it is very important for us to become responsible citizens. And I don't mean here responsible citizens in the sense that, and I'm the last person, well, maybe not the last, but you know, what I'm trying to say is it's far from my mentality to become taken up by nationalism and tribalism and that type of jahiliyyah, because it is. Nationalism is nothing but tribalism on a big scale. It is something despicable. It is something despicable. The type of pride of your country and the type of pride, there's a saying that nationalism is the last refuge of the scoundrel. That's a saying we have in England. And you find that the people who beat this drum of nationalism are some of the most bigoted. I mean, fascism, of course, itself is the most clear example of how dangerous nationalism can be. Now, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with loving the hills and, you know, of Wales and, you know, the beaches of Swansea or whatever, right? And the air and that's, you know, or whatever, the, you know, the bustle and hustle of London, or, you know, there's nothing wrong.